Okay, here is Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie. One of those big time collaborations from back in the day. Got a hit song out of it. A real iconic sounding song too. I mean, as soon as you hear that bass line, you just know exactly what the song is. And I'll show that to you here. I mean, of course, it's the bass doing that, but if you want to just see how to do it real quick, that's pretty simple. And there's kind of a little, I think it's like a piano or something part that comes in there at the end. But it's pretty basic. It's all about like the D chord here, key of D. So we're doing 5 on the A string here, okay. And it's just going to be a 1 2 3, and then a 1 2 3 again faster, and then we just come up to the 5 on the E for the A. Okay, so 1 2 3 on the 5 of the A here. And then same thing, just twice as fast. And then hit the 5 on the A. Alright, just like that. And, you know, cut that last note short. Alright. And if, like I said, if you want to throw in that little piano part there too, basically you just have to do 8 on the B and then 7 on the G, and once you hit that 7 on the G, it's essentially just the bass is going to start over, so you kind of hit it simultaneous with that first note of the bass line, if you want to do that. But if you just want to play it by itself, it would just be 8 on the B, 7 on the G. If you want to put them together, you do something like. Alright, and the guitar part comes in here, and it's not just straight up just strumming chords, you know. He's kind of picking through some interesting voicings of the chords. It's going to start with a D chord, okay, but he's going to be picking it here, where we're going to do 7 on the G and 7 on the B, and then the 5 on the E. Okay, and we're just picking through that. Okay, and we're just going from the G to the B and back to the G. Okay, so 7, 7, 7. Hit that 5 on the E, okay, and then just hit the 7 on the G. Right, so we do something. And then we come up to an A chord, so instead of just hitting the A chord, we're going to do all the way up here where we're playing a interesting voicing of it. We're doing 9 on the G, 10 on the B, and 9 on the E. Okay, and we're going to pick this one a little different, where we go from the G to the E, back to the G. Okay, and then we hit that 10 on the B, and then back to the 9 on the G. And then we slide it down 2 frets, so we're at the 7G, 8B, 7E. Pick it the same way we just did the last position. Okay, so we're going. Alright, and the last position we do here, it's going to end on an A, and this is kind of more of just a straight up voicing. We could probably tell because it's part of this A bar chord. Alright, but we're just going to do the bottom 3 strings. So we're doing 6 on the G, 5 and 5 on the B and the E. And we'll pick it the same way we did the last two positions, where we go from the G, E, back to the G. Okay, and then the 5 on the B. Yeah. And from here we kind of do a little bit of a scale, where we do 7 on the G, 6, 4, and then end it with the 7 on the D. Alright, and then the verse sections come in, or you could think of it as, you know, the part where David Bowie comes in and sings. And these are going to kind of switch up a little bit, where it's just going to be a G chord, and you can just hit it once and let it ring the measure. So one measure with the G, and then we hit A for a measure. Just repeat those two chords just like that 3 times. Alright, and then we cap it off with a D for a measure. Alright, and a measure of 2 chords, where we do a G to an A, so 2 counts of a G and 2 counts of the A. Alright, and eventually we get to the part where it's kind of a break. Most everything musically takes a break. There's some faint piano, but it's like that real light vocal with the snapping. Okay. And if you listen carefully, there's some faint piano chords going on there, and we can follow along with that pretty easy. We're just going to go to a G chord. Okay, just kind of keep it faint. And then we go to a C chord. So a new chord in a song. And we're just going to go back and forth between those 3 times. Alright, and then kind of like the most ruckus part of the song for guitar comes in, I guess, where it just kind of does this little scale into an A chord. It's basically just going to be a 2 to open on the G, 2 to open on the D. Okay, just a real quick little chord before we get into the A measure here. Okay, just real quick. And then we just get right into an A chord and just rock it and let it ring. Alright, then we get into a little interesting spot here where it's going to go to an F chord for 1 measure. Alright, and then it gets into this funky chord here. It's a F major 7 with a flat 5, I guess you could call it. And basically it's going to be that F chord, but you just lift up, and only the only in the strings with your fingers on it. You can leave the B and the E open. Okay. So we're just keeping the same F chord all the way to the G, but then we just lift up and let the B and the E be open. So we get that real just kind of ethereal sounding chord there. Alright, and we're going to go between the F and that chord twice. Alright, and then it just goes right back into an A chord. You can kind of just this up for about 4 measures and just okay, because everything's just building up really big at this point, so you can just kind of go along with it there as much as you want. All right, and after that break, it gets in the chorus section, but they're just straight up kind of rocking it more with just chords. So it's just going to be a D chord, and then a measure where it's a G and an A, so half the measure is G, half is A. Okay. I'm just going to repeat that a few times. Interesting section here comes in where it's kind of like a descending bass note chord, and it's going to be a D chord, but you're going to want to play it up here at this voicing where we're 5 on the A and 7, 7, and 7 on the D, G, B, because we're going to do this here where we hit that once just like that for a measure, and then we bring our pointer down and hit the 4th fret on the A while keeping those 7s on the D, G, B. Okay, so we're getting a descending bass note. And after that 4th fret chord, we bring our ring or our middle finger up here and we hit the 7 on top of those other 3 7s. Don't worry about the A string so much here. If you really want, you can kind of do something like that, but I don't worry about it. I just hit the 7 on the E and then the D, G, B 7s. Okay, because we're going. End the whole pattern off with a straight up just A chord, and you could play it here at this bar chord voicing just because it's right there for you. Okay, I'm just going to repeat that progression. At the very end, just for grins and giggles, I forgot to add in an arrangement for that little piano riff that comes in a couple times. And that's just going to be 7 and 7 on the G and E, 8 on the B, and we're just going to go from the E to B to G. Alright, and then just end it with a 9 on the G. You just do that a couple times. Alright, that was Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie. Really cool collaboration between those two. The Queen movie just came out, so I figured I'd bust out a Queen song for you. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something with it. Please, please, please hit the subscription button. That'd be cool. Check out all the links in the description box for tab books and gear, all that cool stuff. And also, big what's up to all the Vanilla Ice fans out there. I'll catch you next time.